folks always want to talk about getting it out the mud or making my own name or doing all this stuff. And I say that's all a bunch of malarkey. You know what I'm saying? I believe in nepotism and also black nepotism. Now, that's something we're going to talk about today. This is Wealthy Wednesdays. My name is Jimmy. I got my brother Corey with me. Corey, what's up, beloved?
I'm really good, man. Everything good with you?
Hey, listen, man. Yeah, Kamari called out at work tonight. You know what I'm saying? But we are here for a short time, not a long time. But everything's good, man. What's up? What's up with you? What's going on in your life, beloved?
Right now, I'm in the streets. I'm in the telly. So, you know what I mean? I'm in the streets. I'm in the streets. So, and even though I'm in the streets, I got to make sure, I still chop it up with the folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So everything's good though. You doing well?
Man, I'm living. I ain't gonna say well, because if I was doing well, then
listen,
my life would look a little bit different. But I'm not. I ain't bad by no stretch. I'm not gonna complain about my life at all. But I ain't doing well.
You woke up.
You'll be able to tell. I'll be walking around like Jalen Hurts with a Kangol and a cigar and shit. Like I be out here. when you see me with a Kangol and a cigar, you know what it is. Man.
Listen, you woke up this morning, man. So that's one of the things.
Yeah, listen. My life is not bad. Let me be very, very clear. My life, there's nothing bad about my life. It's just not where I want it to be. There's no settling. You know what I mean? I'm not. Listen, man, until we got the Bada Hood School, the Bada Hood Steakhouse, the Black Wolf Rebels Steakhouse, you know what I mean? Like, until we got all that, then my life ain't complete. You know what I mean? Like, we on a mission, bro.
Yeah, man.
We on some Black Wolf Rebels we on the mission, bro. Like,
yeah, man. So it's a whole lot going on, man. Let me check in. If you're watching, please leave a comment. Let me know who's here watching with us live, man. I see Thunder's in the building. What's up, Thunder? How are you? And he's saying emphatically yes to the title of the show, which is "Should We Normalize Black Nepotism?" You know what I'm saying? So also, by the way, this is streaming in the village. If you're not in the village, make sure you do so by going to blackwealthrebels.com. It is free to get in the village. You know what I'm saying? We do have paid tiers, but we ain't trying to sell you nothing, but we got something for sale. Shout out to everybody who watched the newest episode of Stack Sats or Die Trying, which is already in the village. Doesn't drop on our YouTube channels or Facebook page or anything like that till later in the week, but it's already available for those that are in the village. I see some of our folks, jumping in the room as we, start to get into the show, man, which we're going to talk about nepotism, getting it out the mud, and all these crazy things that we have. Our sister is in the building. What's up, Lorraine? How are you? Thank you for always supporting and pulling up to, have these great conversations with us. That sis, GC is in the building. What's up, GC? Hey, man, say, man. Listen, man, GC was really good, man.
Was really good,
man. Listen, I just got invited. It's not till next year, but I got invited to actually go and speak in Mobile, Alabama. I think it's next March. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm being in them Alabama streets, man. I need to know where to get a grub from. You know what I'm saying? I'm planning.
Mobile and Birmingham is a little bit apart.
Oh, are they? Okay. Listen, I don't know.
It ain't that far. It's just
once I got the invite, the first thing I said is, all right, so how close is this to Mississippi, right? Because I got this rule.
So Alabama and Mississippi are very close.
Yeah. So I got this rule, right? I had this thing in my head. One day I may hit all 50 states, but I don't know, because there were certain states that I just didn't know whether I ever would hit, and Mississippi being one of them. But when I saw I got an invite to Mobile, Alabama, I was like, you know what? Let's see how close Mississippi is. Maybe I'll go over there and get a grub just so I can knock it off my bucket list, my 50-state bucket list, man. So
I'll be in Mississippi every time I go to Alabama.
Yeah, I'll be in Alabama next year. I already got the invite. I'm gonna go out there, spit these bars. But by the way, everybody watching, I see we got a lot of folks up on the YouTube channel watching. Do me a favor, please hit the like button. You know what I mean? Hit the like, love button, all that good stuff, man. Gerald's in the building. What's up, Jarrell? And our brother V-Don is in the building. Don, what's really good, man? What's really, really good, man? Don, I got a podcast for you, bro, because I know you be into the books and all that, but it's a dope podcast. It's called Business Movers, right? Look it up. It's by the Wondery folks. It's called Business Movers. Look up that podcast.
That's the whole Business Wars joint, right?
Yeah, business. So here's what I found out. They didn't end Business Wars. They just created a whole separate line. So Business Movers and Business Wars are both still putting out content. The difference is, like, Business Movers, sometimes it doesn't. So you know how in Business Wars, there's always like two folks that are rivals going at each other. Business movers is kind of the show is the same, but the person doesn't need ops, for lack of a better term. So sometimes it's just story. So I'm listening to a joint now, which is about Oprah Winfrey and her story. And, most of us know Oprah's story, but when you get some of the nuance in it, you say, yo, the fact that she did what she did, and you consider where she came from and what she overcame, I'm not the biggest Oprah fan, but when you hear like what she had to go through,
action.
what she had to go through to get to where she was, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but Don, check it. I know Tom with that. GC says I drove to Mobile and it took like 5 hours. Damn, you're in the same state. Man, yo, that's like people
Philly,
in
Philly, that's Philly to
Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh like 5-6 hours. Cats be like, yo, y'all in the same state. This is true. So the event is a evaluation technologies conference. It's put on by I forgot the name of this organization. It used to be called Eurissa, but they have a new name now. But they do evaluation technologies conferences all over the country, and it's next March. I don't know the exact location. I know it's in Mobile, Alabama, but I don't know like what place it's going to be in. But I'll give you the information the sooner I get it. But it's not till next year. They just asked me early, and I accept it, so I will be out there. Yo, it's crazy though, right? So this last couple weeks been crazy. Today, I had the honor of being a guest lecturer at the University of Penn, which was fire. You know what I mean? So I was in there talking absolutely crazy. So I actually just posted a clip of some of my talk on my page. So, check it out on the By the Hood page, the Black Wealth Rebels page. I just posted it. So, Marquis in the building. Your cousin Core. Cousin Marquis in the building.
Yeah.
What's good with you? Interested in the convo. Hey, Marquis. The career queen is in the building. Hey, how are you? Welcome. Nicole's in the building. You know what I'm saying? The queen of honey. Like, what's up, Nicole? How are you? Jamil is here. What's up, Jamil? She's saying hey to Alicia. So Business Movers is the one with Madam CJ Walker versus Annie Malone. Yes, that's on there. That's not on Business Wars. It's on Business Movers. So check that out, though. All right, so Thunder says, getting to the topic. Let's get into the topic, right? Because we ain't going to be here for a long time, but we're going to be here for a good time, right? Shout out to our brother Kamar. He called out. Yeah, first of all, you already know what it is right now, right? For those who don't know, March 17th was the deadline for corporate taxes. You know what I mean? So for the next couple weeks, our brother is swamped. But we told him, listen, that's why it's three of us. We're going to hold it down, man. We like the LOX and whatnot. But Thunder says, in order to practice nepotism, we must have family businesses or institutions to pass down. So that's somewhat true in my opinion. I'm giving my opinion. Because nepotism, for the most part, you're right. But sometimes if you get your foot into a place, right? I've seen people who work at things like the post office, and they practice nepotism like crazy. The police force, the fire department, where they don't necessarily own that business.
Yeah, they don't own the means of production, but they got an end to get you into. Like, I'll tell you where nepotism is big. Schools. Mm-hmm. And that's a big one because the schools your child goes to has a lot to do with how they can position themselves in whatever field they're going into. And here's why, right? Schools are generally thought of as a meritocracy, right? But schools aren't they're not meritorious. And it's because of the inequities in the level of resources that go into schools, right? So regardless of, let's say you got an A student from inner city USA that goes to a public school, and then you got a $50,000 a year private school. Now, I know a lot about both of these because I sent my kids to $50,000 a year private schools, and I went to the best public schools in the country, right? The education is nearly the same, but I'm going to tell you it's not the same, the environments, right? And so in the environments at the $50,000 a year schools are totally different. There's no running around class, ain't no kids acting crazy, none of that, because parents is investing time, effort, energy, and money into these kids, and they is not allowing it. And in the $50,000 a year private school, if the kids don't meet the standard, they just put them out. They just like, all right, boss, like, it was nice having you, but you gotta go. You know what I mean? Like,
let me do this, Corey. It's something I stole from Corey too, right? Corey believes in this, which is when you have a conversation about something, the first thing you want to do is start with the vocabulary, right?
Yep.
I stole that from Corey. But here's the definition of nepotism, right? So nepotism is the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs, right? So the thing about nepotism is it doesn't even necessarily have to be family. It also could be friends or associates. So it goes back to that saying of it's not all the time what you know, but it's who you know, right?
No, it's all the time who you know. It's not. Listen, man, there's a lot of dumb people. Listen, the first job I ever got coming out of when I got my teaching certificates, I worked at Front and Hunting Park, which is a place where they do like kids that have been either kicked out of schools or who are in foster care and need a place to go to get back into public schools, right? So I'm working there, and the person who runs the place is the superintendent's son, right?
Of the school district?
Of the superintendent of the school district. Now let me tell you what his qualifications are. His whole qualifications is I am the son of the superintendent. Boy had a high school diploma. A place where everybody got a master's degree. My man was running the whole joint with a high school diploma.
So here's the thing, right? I know some people, and this is how the conversation started. It actually started me and Kamara having a conversation, and I'm gonna share a couple things as we get into the conversation. But there are people out there who still say, "Yo, I want to get it out the mud, and I want to build my own legacy. I don't want to just piggyback off such and such's name." And I would tell them, I say, "Yo, that's corny." Like everybody out here is working hard, and if we're not selfish, we're working hard for more than ourselves. We're working hard, for our family and for a legacy. So, if people put you in a position to succeed, listen, I'm all for nepotism, man. Here's a question I have for everybody watching. Leave this in the comments. How many people have ever gotten a job or an opportunity based upon who you know? All right, just answer that in the chat. Let me get to these comments. But I think that's funny. Like, all right, let me get to the All right, so here is Lorraine. The fact that Oprah was forced to sleep on the front porch in Chicago because she was too dark to sleep inside. Yeah, it was. Her story is I'll be slandering Oprah at times, and I'll be talking smart, but I she is who she is. You know what I'm saying?
Two things can be true at the same time, man.
Yes, she is. I see. Yeah, Thunder. So it could be friends, and and sometimes if you get into an institution, for instance, I was listening to another podcast. I'm gonna give y'all the name of this podcast. I think I brought it up before, but the guy was going over the history of policing in this country, right?
Oh yeah.
It's called Empire City is the name of the podcast. It's called Empire City.
Nepotism.
And he was going over the history of policing in this country. But what he said was when the Irish first started coming to America, they were discriminated against crazily, right? The police used to pick on them, beat them, and do all these things. But what happened was because they had their own communities, when stuff would happen in the Irish community, they would band together and not help the police solve crimes, not doing all this. So one of the guys in the police was like, look, the only way to have any sort of effect in that neighborhood, we need to hire one of their own to police that area. So they hired one of their own. And what did the first guy do to get in? He kicked the door open to the point where they say now in most places, the Irish are they're considered the police, right? It's like a collinear relationship. When you in most departments across that have an Irish population, they dominate the police force. But it started with one guy who was like, yo, I'm bringing everybody with me, right? So it wasn't that he owned his own business or did anything, but they literally dominated the police. And it became as a response to them getting abused, according to this podcast. I didn't really, I would listen to the podcast. He did his research. He cited where he got the information from, but I didn't, double check it. But I just found that to be interesting. Like they turned the whole thing of, oh, you want to pick on us? Now we're going to go inside and take over the whole thing. And that's kind of what they did all across the country, by the way. Marquia, by the way, supports Black nepotism, as I do too. I think, Corey, you do too, right?
Oh, 100%.
GC says, man, a lot of these so-called good-paying jobs, especially the ones that don't require all types of degrees, are so locked up, they literally just do interviews as a formality. Yeah, because they got their cousins.
Yo, listen, even the ones that require all the degrees, listen, I just told you.
Yeah.
We had the dude that was running the facility that I was working at when I first got my first job out of college. After I got my, not out of college, but my first job that I got with my teaching certificates.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute chaos. I was like, bro, she when she got fired, that's the first thing they did. They found her son. She was paying that boy like $120,000 a year to run a facility, and my man had a high school diploma. The only thing he probably ran was cross country. The only thing he ever ran in his life was cross country. Man, I was
you ready to bag up. Yo, Don says that he's in the military, well, retired military now, but Don says nepotism is crazy in the military.
Yeah, you got multiple. That's multiple generations from every race, color, creed. Like, people follow other people into the military. That's definitely a big one.
Yeah. So Nicole says the post office is big on nepotism. My mother, father, and brother worked for the post office. I worked there but hated it. My parents have been retired for a while, but my mother got a lot of people hired. Salute to your moms, man, because that's the thing, right? I know a lot of times when we talk about the issues we have, the things we have to do to move forward, we always look it up top for those that have like a lot of resources and a lot of stuff. But listen, stuff like what your mom does, that's legendary to me. When you have
helping 3 people feed their family.
Listen, when you help someone feed their family, to me, that's just as revolutionary as anything else, right? So if you have a job and you can bring someone to help them, like make a couple dollars, that to me is being a revolutionary. So salute to your mom for that. And we need more people like that, man. Help folks get their foot in the door. So Don says, I will say we need to practice putting ourselves in position to practice nepotism. I would have said, Bron can practice nepotism because of the work he has done.
All facts.
Yeah. This is true. This is true. When I worked at Comcast, I brought a lot of people. Salute to you as well. Nicole says, currently my position, and I prove that I deserve it. That's the other part we got to get to, right? The other part that helps nepotism work is when you bring someone that's actually qualified, right? So to your example, Core, putting her son with a high school diploma to run a position where he's like, not that degrees matter all the time, but everyone who reports to him has. I get it.
Everybody in the building has to have a master's degree because that's what you have to do to be a teacher.
But let me finish though. So that's part of the problem, right? Now, let's just say her son had his master's or PhD or whatever, right?
Nobody would have had anything with it.
It wouldn't look as crazy, right? So put yourself in a position to actually take advantage of nepotism, right? If you have a degree and someone can then place you, then so I'm for it. I'm for it always, but sometimes it looks crazy. And Thunder says, get it out the mud for what? When you don't have to. Why do it? Most other communities don't. Some of us are in love with the struggle. Ooh, that is a bar. It is absolutely absolutely in love with the struggle. I was watching a video today. It was a sister from London, and she was saying how she came to visit the States, and she actually brought up Philly too. I was in Philly, and I rode by their projects, and it didn't even look that crazy. Like, our projects is tough, and our project. I'm like, yo, sis is bragging about how tough and how dirty her projects are. I was like, why are you online bragging about that? What we doing? Anyway, so GC says it's economic warfare.
All the facts.
These are facts, GC. What is any area of the workforce or market we can corner? Trucking or an area in the medical field?
Man, I know one place we had cornered that we let slip out our grasp.
What's that?
Was barbering.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I feel like barbering and beauty, like we. Here's another thing, right? And this goes to PTSD, and what I mean by that is the post-traumatic slave disorder. Sometimes we tend to like look down on certain things that we shouldn't, such as like barbering or doing hair or whatever. Like, we definitely dominate that space, but we like to joke and clown about the fact, like, even when it comes to sports, right? He just he's a rapper or an athlete. Like, we dominate certain spaces, but we don't have the ownership of those spaces. Now, if we focus on owning the spaces that we dominate from being a talent standpoint, it's an excellent book. I know the title is like off-putting to a lot of people, but it's called $40 Million Slaves. And I actually had a conversation with the writer of the book. And, the book is meant to like invoke emotion when you see the title, because you feel like, if I'm making $40 million, how the hell are you calling me a slave? But his thesis in the book is ownership. The ownership class is okay with paying you a high salary, right? But what they're not okay with is you having ownership. Because it's one thing to have like resources in terms of money. It's another thing to control means of production and to control how people feed their family. Because then when I'm done with you, I can be done with you. So sometimes it's more powerful, even if your income isn't as high, to be able to provide jobs to people, right? It's why certain nonprofits are so powerful, like in business and politics. And you thinking, well, they're a nonprofit. Yeah, but they're a nonprofit that employs 50,000 people. It's like they got a certain level of power and can push their weight around because they help to them. They employ people. When you employ people and you own the means of production, it's different than just an income. But anyway, get off my soapbox. Let's get to some more of these comments. But Thunder, to answer your question, that's a good conversation to have. We probably could do a whole show on that, right? I have my opinions, and I'm pretty sure everybody has their opinions. I'll tell you one thing in Philly that our sisters are dominating is that home healthcare space. Man. I'm like, everybody and their mom got a home healthcare business. But anyway, so Lorraine says, well, the Don artist only has an HSD. What's the HSD, yo?
High school diploma.
High school diploma. Oh, the Don. Okay. The Don artist. Okay, got you. High school diploma. Got you. All right. Dina says, shout out to Dina. Dina been going crazy in the trade. Dina, I'm getting back in there with you. Actually made a profitable trade today, but I didn't get a chance to capture it to share. And I ain't wanted to go in there and say, yo, y'all, I just did this. Like, so I didn't even put it in there. I ran a quick short before the market went the other way, got my bread and got out. But I'll be back in there with you in a minute. It's just been so hectic with me. But Dina's still holding it down on the trade tip. But anyway, Dina says, this reminds me of the show you all did regarding the promotion of Black entitlement by initiating it ourselves. It's necessary. These are facts. And nepotism is necessary too. Marquia says, we be in position to practice nepotism. The gag is people are greedy. They only willing to help if it means it won't put you at.
Man.
Yo, you are speaking. I had this conversation this week with someone about why people don't do certain things. And the funny thing is, it wasn't even a Black person. It was an Asian person. And he was breaking it down to me. He said, like, he gets in, like, he was being honest. He's like, he struggles with it too, right? He said he gets certain opportunities in the tech space, right? And he becomes, like, for lack of a better term, the Asian guy, right? And he's saying that, yo, I don't want to lose my spot as being the Asian guy. So, but he said he struggles with it, like, but he's trying to get better at it. And that was the conversation we had. And I'm like, yo, you can't think with a scarcity mindset. That's the first thing, right?
But see, the thing is, you can't think with a scarcity mindset, but you got to look at the overall climate in which we are living in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the DEI climate that we live in, and so
anti-DEI, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, like. So
yeah, but what I'm saying is, if we all were on code, then this wouldn't matter, right? Because my thing is, if I help pull you in, you have a certain level of loyalty to me. You're gonna look out for me, right? It's not about you replacing me, right? And and that's the thing. This is why our brother Byron, the genius he is, talked about this for his whole life. Like the value, the biggest value you can have is a network, right? Creating networks matter. Creating networks matter is one of the reasons we want to put all of our energy, and the reason that we come together to build the way we do is to build Black Wealth Rebels. Because when we say a village, that's our objective. Like, we want to get to the point where you
literal network.
Yeah, when you go into the village and someone says, yo, my job is hiring anybody, like, that's what we're trying to build, right? Where we can actually share resources, energy, and information. Because information is key. But Marquia's point is so true, and especially comes from cultures that are not the dominant culture in this country, oppressed cultures. When you're oppressed, and it's going to sound like I'm taking a shot, but I'm really not. But this is where I see it most. I see it in a lot of our HBCU graduates and our Divine Nine brothers and sisters, right? Where they are so focused on assimilation and being like, the Black person at this firm, or the Black person in this engineering, thing, or the Black architect here, in achieving high levels, but not building our own institutions, for one, and for two, not flooding their institutions with our people, right? When I was having a conversation last week with all the Black attorneys in Philadelphia, one of the things we're having a real estate conversation, but I told them, like, yo, this room is power. Y'all should be networking and building institutions together, putting capital together to buy all this land. I'm in a room full of 6-figure attorneys, and I'm like, why y'all not working together? But it's not just them. I'm just saying as an example. So we should be building these networks because the value is in the networks. Other cultures have shown us this, but it is what it is, man. Organizing.
Our own cultures have shown us this.
Yes,
Listen. Forget other. Let's forget the other cultures talk, right?
Yes.
Our culture showed us this. When we work together, right? Let's just take the one that everybody knows, Tulsa. Black people work together. and it was the richest place in the country. It was easily the richest place in the country. And it's because Black people were serving and working with and working for Black people. And that's it.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many of those spaces, right? But man, this is the objective. The objective is to work together, man. So Ford, GM, and Chrysler were the hubs of nepotism in Detroit from the 70s to 2000s. Then it became you had to pay the plug. That's crazy, right? So folks like, yo, I can get you in, but it's gonna cost you a couple $. Like selfish tip, man. I feel like we had the hair game on lock, but we don't know how to gatekeep. That's another great point, right?
Yeah.
We love to let folks in. You know what I'm saying? We are the most forgiving people, and we love to let folks in.
Yeah, Anthony's in the building. Invites, that bothers me, bro.
Hold on, my man Anthony Olsen. What's up with you?
What is this?
You got red flag biscuit on. What's going on? What's your profile, yo? Beauty for sure. The career queen. Yeah, beauty is something we definitely could dominate. Didn't William C. Rhoden write that book? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I got an interview with him. It's on YouTube somewhere. I used to have I had a sports podcast. Listen, I've been podcasting since 2009. I was podcasting before podcasting was podcasting. And I used to have a sports podcast, but he was one of the people that I talked to on that podcast.
I used to call into your podcasting.
He did. So it's online. It's on YouTube, as a matter of fact. Just look up War Room Sports, but it's on there. But he was one of my guests. Nonprofit doesn't mean no profit. These are absolute facts.
Listen, the most money
look at the CEO of United Way. What's the CEO of United Way? What's his salary?
Like 500 racks. Yo, the CEO. Listen, I know the CEO of a nonprofit so well that the CEO of the nonprofit that I know makes minimum 7 figures. Because the thing is, because he brings in $30 million a year to that nonprofit.
So right now, the CEO of United Way is Angela Williams. Hold up. That a sister? That sound like, I don't right? Angela Williams sounds like a sister, but either way, Angela Williams in 2023, the last recorded salary they have is $1,045,416. The previous CEO before her was a gentleman by the name of Brian Gallagher, who was the CEO from 2015 to 2023, which is a total of about 8 years. In that 8 years, he made a total of $12 million.
Yeah, but you got to look at it. He's running a network. So that's not even a big salary for a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Not a CEO with the network size of.
Oh no, she is sister. Salute to Angela Williams. I just learned something new. I didn't know
that's a great salary, but for the CEO of a network that large, that's kind of a small salary, to be honest.
But, listen, here's the thing though. As CEO, you have people that report to you that handle, obviously that
all I'm saying is that I know the CEO of a local nonprofit that makes 7 figures.
Mm-hmm. It's possible. So he called out of work, but he's in the chat, so we still got. Kamari, what's up, bro? Hey, yo, Kamari, man, I sent you a message, bro. Just check your messages, bro. That's all I'm gonna say, man. Kamari says that DEI saved this country, but they forgot that.
Man, listen.
They forgot that. In my 20s, I had someone give me opportunities to move up in corporate. So I feel like I need to pay it forward. When I was in a position to bring people in, that is what I did. Excellent work, Nicole. That's dope. Thunder says, I'm thinking, what can we that can be easily taught and pays well? Trucking, certain medical jobs only take a few months, like EMS, EKG, phlebotomy, drawing blood.
I'm going to tell you this. As a teacher, those jobs seem easy, but these kids can't read and write coming out of high school. So it's kind of like, I'm just saying, those jobs would be great jobs to push kids into and do a takeover if the kids can read and write. The kids can't read and write. They can't read, they can't write, and they can't do past like 4th or 5th grade math.
Yeah, I was working with some so we were trying to get some of the youth to write letters, right, to say thank you for some people that donated to this program I'm working with, right? And the kids, and these are bright kids, straight A kids going to Ivy League schools, right? And they literally can't write. Like, first of all, penmanship isn't even taught anymore. Cursive's not even practiced anymore. But it was crazy. And they're like, yo, it was they can't write, and I'm like, is it really like irrelevant?
Because they don't have any practice at writing. They had practice at typing.
I know, but that's my point. All of them could type, all of them know how to communicate. They're smart kids, but they literally don't know how to write. And I'm sitting there like, okay, so technically they don't have to write. And we're in an age now where you don't even have to type anymore. You talk to your device. I'm like, yo, is penmanship literally this lost? Is it going forever? Like, is it? What's the point of it at this point?
It's going to be to the point where people are going to have to pay people to write, literally write.
Yeah, but my thing is, what are you writing for, right? Even signatures are digital now. It's crazy. But it just occurred to me as I watched it.
The person in charge of this country just tried to get rid of everything that the previous president did because he did digital signatures.
Yeah, I did. I saw it. Well, I didn't read all about it, but I saw a headline that said that. But I'm sitting there thinking like, it's crazy because I remember, and again, aging myself, I'm old as dirt, but actually taking classes, learning how to write. Remember them old books with the 3 big lines, and you got to keep your cursive words within the lines, like what I'm saying.
Bro,
I had to write the alphabet.
As a kid, my aunt used to tear my paper. Like I used to write, and if it didn't touch both lines on every word, she'd rip that joint up and make me start all over again. Like,
what y'all know about the 3-line joints, man? Shout out to the 3-line joints, man. GC says we ain't to compete like that. Yeah, we got to be willing to compete. Anthony says we should also read The Miseducation of the Negro. Carter G. Woodson. That's a classic. Here's what's funny about that, right? In our investment club, right? Yep. IB Big, right? Part of the initiation to get into the investment club, right? This, by the way, there's no fraternity, so initiation sounded crazy, but it's really like you got to be one of us, but you also have to write a short paragraph explaining, how that book affected you, right? So if you haven't read the book, we give you a chapter and say, what does this chapter mean to you? Crazy part is that right there, we've had several people come and say they want to join, but they won't do that part. We won't let them in. And it's kind of a good way to, find people that really on a mission, because of course we want to build wealth, but we also trying to build culture. And if you're not willing to do that, then, maybe this ain't for you, which is also okay, by the way. That's also
ease on down the road, and I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You know what I mean? It's all good.
All right. What if we get some of the young folks who claim sets? We teach them American Sign Language to translate. Yo, Thunder's thinking outside the box, so I appreciate that. They used to throw up signs anyway. Why not get paid to do it? I'm just saying.
Listen,
hey, Thunder, I ain't mad at you, bro.
I never even thought of that.
I'm laughing because you thinking outside the box, and I think that's the thinking I'm talking about. Is kind of what we need in the community, right? We've been trying like a lot of different things. We need thinking outside the box. Darren's in the building. What's up, Darren? What are tax deeds? All right, so that's a good question. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you said that because I might create some content in the village about tax deeds. Because
I bought every property that I bought in the last 6 years has been a tax deed property.
So depending upon your jurisdiction, tax deeds can be different. Because in some places you can buy a tax deed which will give you ownership of the property if someone is not paying their taxes. In other jurisdictions, you're not able to do that.
You have to wait.
So
you can buy. All right, I'll do a quick explanation because tax deeds is where I grab. So there's depending on jurisdiction, there's 5 to 6 levels of tax deeds that you can grab, right? Highest level being that person has just defaulted, and lowest level being they've defaulted and now it's like 3 different levels of sale. So what happens is you have the defaulted property. If no one buys it, then it goes to a different tax sale, and then it goes through like 2 or 3 levels of tax sales, and then there's what's called last chance tax sales, where it'll just sit as in the last chance tax sales, and you're able to buy it at a discounted price from whatever jurisdiction you live in.
Mm-hmm.
So with the tax deeds, what you need to do, even if you don't buy them, because my dad used to buy them, which is what got me into them, is what you could do is you could pay the back taxes. Like the counties will never not let you pay the back taxes. Even if that person does pay the taxes on it, they're charged a fee or a penalty on top of that, which you will receive. You're guaranteed to receive that because if the person pays, they have to pay that penalty on top of it to even get the property back.
Real quick, to simplify it, basically, is you being able to take ownership of a property because someone didn't pay their taxes. That's a simplified way to put it. Yep. In Philadelphia, right, where I operate in the real estate space, if someone doesn't pay their taxes, it goes up for a sheriff sale. The sheriff puts it up for a sheriff sale. And you can get the information on the website bid4assets.com, and that's BID, the number 4 ASSET. So it's bid 4 assets, but it's the number 4, bid4assets.com. What happens is if a property sits there, they have 9 months to get their property back by paying those taxes, but also a 10% to Corey's point penalty, and you get that 10%. If you buy a vacant lot, there is no right of redemption. That 9 months is called the right of redemption. So the right of redemption doesn't exist if it's a vacant lot, because the point of the right of redemption is to help people save their homes. But if you have a lot, that is what it is, something a little different. So, but the overall answer to your question, a tax deed gives you the ability to get a deed to a property because someone has defaulted on their taxes. That's the overall overarching thing about it. Anthony says, I used to work in the nonprofit industry. Definitely a bankroll of money that's given out annually, not including the products and services provided by the nonprofits. Absolutely. GC said, yeah, that was an issue when I sat in on history classes at Miles.
Yeah, they can't read and write.
My son taught himself how to write in cursive. That's dope. Now you have Copilot. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's going to be a lost art. It's going to be a lost art. The funny thing is, I went back, right? So, I used the, Galaxy Ultra, right, with the pen and all that. So I said, all right, let me go out here, just shits and giggles. I tried to write every letter in cursive, and some of them I actually forgot. Like, hold up, how you do? I'm like, damn, I'm terrible at writing now. It's true story. Your thoughts on a push for dominance in the tech and AI space, or is it moving so fast we're too far behind to catch up? Great question. Jamil, I talked about this in a recent episode of Stack Sats or Die Trying. The standpoint that I was taking is we need to be involved in the space, right? I don't care about catching up. That idea of catching up is funny to me because I used to always say it myself, like, we never going to catch up because of this. I don't care to catch up. I care to put us in a better position than we currently at. And I think that we need to be involved in those spaces. I think that we should learn coding. We should learn these things. And I saw a video today.
Involved in that space because we need to be involved in every space.
I saw a video today where very Chris Sacca is his name. He's an attorney. He was the attorney for Google. He became a wealthy VC because he was in the right place at the right time. He worked for Google and got in as their attorney. But he put up a thing and he was saying, based upon AI and ChatGPT, that folks shouldn't learn the code, or he was basically saying people shouldn't learn the code, forget being in law. And I was laughing as I'm watching him say that because I understand why he says that. But then I think about the fact that a lot of information that people put out there isn't culturally appropriate, right? You hear information from someone like him or someone like Ramsey, and there's no shade to any of them, or all the shade, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. It's not culturally relevant. We need to compete in these spaces, right? I sit in rooms in my city where decisions are made, and they're made from people that are no smarter than other folks I know. They just happen to have positions in these spaces. And the reason why is because they've put themselves in position, whether that's through like nepotism, right? Education. And when I say education, I don't just mean college, right? But it's the the funniest thing about the whole idea, this whole anti-college movement that I see a lot of folks in our community, like, why? It's like college isn't for everyone. I'm gonna start with that. But the idea that, college seems to be for every other culture but ours, like, that's BS. We still need people to go to college. I'm not one of these everybody don't go to college things.
I believe in two things. One, the reason people be like, why did you pay $50,000 a year to send your kids to elementary school, blah, blah, blah. And I said two reasons. I was paying for environment, not education, because I understand that everything is a response to environment. Everything is a response to stimuli. And I have a better controlled stimuli and environment in those environments. And so just like you had at Ivy Leaf, right? You had a controlled environment where they taught you X, Y, and Z, right? That's the power of private school, right? It wasn't about the education, because I homeschooled my kids. So whatever they were being taught, it didn't really even matter. They were there for socialization, and I was paying for environment.
So so bring it together when you talk about the college thing, because we were talking about college.
Right. So the thing is, with college, it's the same thing. You're paying for environment, right? You're paying to put your kids around other kids that are going to, especially if your child is one of those children that's going into a field, a specified field, they have to be around other people in that field so that they can get the premium opportunities. Going to college is more about who you know than what you know also.
But right? See, here's the other part, right? I remember I took an economics course at Community College of Philadelphia. First of all, Community College of Philadelphia is dope. It's
probably the best college in the city.
I'm a huge proponent
outside of Penn.
I'm a huge proponent of them. I mean, I would argue too as someone who has a Drexel degree, but I digress. Now, with that being said, I took a class one time in economics, and my professor, and I've told the story before here, my professor was a professor from the University of Penn who taught economics at Penn. And he would hand us a syllabus, give us work, and on the syllabus and on the work, it actually said University of Penn, even though I'm in community college. but that was a lesson in itself. I'm like, first off, I'm getting the same education that they paying all this money for down at Penn.
And I paid college prices.
Yeah, I took it in the summer class, just trying to get some credits over the summer. Yeah, y'all remember that? You try to grab a couple classes in the summer to get some credits. That's how I took it. But it also taught me a lesson that, for some of these professors, education is a hustle. You know what I'm saying? He was getting a big bag from over there with his main job. I'm gonna give me a couple small bags on the side. So that technically was his hustle. But I was telling the story to a gentleman who's a professor at Penn. And he said, true. He said, the education is the same. And bringing it back home to our show today, he said, the reason people pay to go to certain colleges, whether they're Ivy or just bigger schools, is for the nepotism. It's for the network.
It's for the environment.
It's for the network. I was watching, one of my favorite shows is Suits. And I was watching Suits, and I went back. I saw they brought out Suits LA. I said, all right, let me go back and watch the original one from the beginning. And I'm watching the original one from the beginning. And it's funny because in this firm that they work in, they only hire people that went to Harvard. Like, that's their thing. We only hire Harvard attorneys. So it's like, hilarious watching that. But that is a network, and that's nepotism in itself, right? So when you go to these colleges, whatever college you went to, even sometimes high schools or whatever, like, you're building your network and you're building that nepotism in there. Let's get back to the comments though. But to answer your question, I think that we should get in those spaces, Jamil. Like, we gotta be in every space. We also need plumbers. We need electricians. We need to compete. We need to get serious about competing. And I think that's the overall thing. And GC talked about it earlier. Some folks don't want to compete.
You know why me and Jim are a partnership? Because we are part of a fraternity of high school. We went to the #1 public high school in the country, right? And you want to talk about nepotism? If I meet another person that went to my high school, I automatically go to the top of the list.
Same here, especially in Philadelphia. Like, it's a thing.
Anywhere around the country,
people clown about it. They be like, "Oh, you're a cult." It's not a cult.
Ask my wife. Ask my wife. We be anywhere around the world, and if somebody say their class number in a certain way, I know exactly where they went. I tell them I went to Central, and then we move right to the front.
Yeah, that's how it works. It definitely does work that way. And it's funny though, because you're taught that when the first day you go there, they teach you to be that way.
Yep. Again, back to environment.
Yeah, that's environment, or is it that's part conditioning?
What I'm saying, everything is a response to stimuli and environment. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So Thunder says, okay, with that being said, we have a group of young folks who can't read or write or count. What job can they do that pays well and they can act that, so he's about to say, where can we have them focus? Because it says CDA. I know what you're trying to say. Job can they do that pays well and they can actually do? So again, there's so many spaces. We need to be in every space. I do understand your point about like focusing and taking an industry. That is one perspective, but I feel like we need to be in all these spaces. So therefore, when we see one of our folks, we can get
we can get that old school head nod, like, you got me? Yeah, I got you.
I just bought my grandson one of those handwriting books. He is 7 and autistic. Dope about him buying.
I'll tell you this, Nicole, your grandson, You need to be very, very careful. Again, I work in special education, and I'm following what's going on with the Department of Education closely because I have two special needs children. And the reason why they're trying to dismantle the Department of Education is because the children with special needs cost more. Educating a child with special needs costs more than it costs to go to the top private schools in the country. And so they're trying to eliminate those protections for children with special needs from the Department of Education.
That's nutty.
I'm just telling you why they're trying to get rid of the Department of Education and privatize it. Because if they privatize it, then those protections go away.
That's nutty. So GC says
very closely with that.
Yeah, I honestly think that AI is overhyped right now. So here's the thing, right? What I'll say is this.
Tell them what you always tell me, Jim. It ain't AI.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But there is still something there, right? Because they're trying to make everything AI. They're calling any and everything AI. And all the stuff they're calling AI just actually isn't AI. But I think there is something there because I've seen some of the things that people are building, right? I've seen some of the applications of this stuff in the real world, and it's like, all right.
Yeah, they got to learn.
I came back. Listen, I put it on the last episode of Stack Stats That Try. I actually said that. I came back from the last tech conference I went to, and I enrolled in 2 Python classes. And I know Python. I'm just not very proficient in it because I use a different programming language. But I'm like, yo, I got to learn Python. I got to become savvy at Python because I see where everything is going. And Python is the #1 programming language right now that people, and specifically in AI it is. So I need to learn it. And I've seen the application from a geospatial standpoint and other standpoints of how the technology is being used. So I think that there is a lot of hype right now, but there's still something there. And we got to be in these spaces. We definitely got to be in these spaces. GC says, most people running stuff in tech are not programmers or engineers. This is absolutely true. But again, so the point I'm making is we should be in all spaces, whether that's programming, engineering, and the people actually running it. So listen, because the other part is people tend to look at the top of organizations and not understanding, not UGC, just saying in general. They like, well, such and such is running this company. He's not an engineer or a programmer. But there are probably 15, 20 programmers and engineers under him who are all making excellent salaries that, can contribute to your point, this war we're in. So Marquia says, put me on, cousin, and she want to get into the taxi. Listen, let's talk. When we come, by the way, Marquia, I got to shoot you a message. Someone sent me a message. They watched our video. We talked about trying to go to Baltimore. And I'm going to tell you what they said because I don't know the person they were talking about, but they were saying if you want to go to Baltimore, where is it at? I'm going to find it. To look up some gentleman's spot that's in Baltimore. But I'll send it to you instead of just holding this whole thing up. I'll send it to you. But the guy has like a couple of different restaurants in Baltimore and, to go to his space and see if we can set something up in Baltimore. But I'll send it to you nonetheless. But we definitely could talk about, tax deeds, whatever help you need, whatever questions you got, we got you. My mom used to tear my paper up too when she didn't like my handwriting up in high school. Up to high school, I was pissed. Tear your whole joint up.
Yo, listen, my parents was into that. They was into that heavy. Like, listen, my mom's favorite saying was "Do it right or do it over." Like, I was like, damn. Like, so right, I didn't, do it. So what she was trying to teach me is to take your time and do it right the first time. So, because if you don't do it right the first time, I'm gonna make you do it. And she was like, "This is what the world will make you do." She was like, "This is what real learning looks like, right?" Because if in the real world, they'll keep presenting you with the same problem until you learn how to do it right. So learn how to do it right the first time, so you don't keep running into the same problem.
Do it right or do it over.
Listen, do it right or do it over. I put that in our book.
Yeah, do it right or do it over. Listen, man. So Thunder says, find some of the bros that graffiti tag and have them do murals for businesses. So in the city of Philadelphia, we have a mural.
We actually had the biggest mural arts program in the world.
You still in my bars, man. That's what I can really say. So if you Google Thunder, look up mural arts program. We had the biggest mural arts program, but that was actually the impetus for it. And now we have a lot of beautiful murals over the city. We got the Kevin Hart has one, Will Smith has one. Dr. J got probably the most prominent one to me. That's the most memorable one. It's the Dr. J joint. That joint is crazy. But and I think that was one of the first ones too. But partner with some bros that did bid. I guess he's saying bids or bids. Bids. I guess he's saying it says bids, but bids and give them a food truck selling spreads and other type of foods. It may be a novelty, but it can make money. I see. Thunder says, I was paying for environment and not education. Bars. This is true. Anti-college is anti-black wealth. Yeah, Don, that's kind of wild to me. Like, we still need folks in those spaces, man. Anthony says, my brother is in college now. Everyone except him failed their writing assignment simply because they didn't know how to use AI prompts. How do you fail a class even when they give you a tool to cheat? Yo, it's funny because I've seen jobs on LinkedIn where folks is like, yo, we're hiring for prompt engineers. I say, yo, you can make anything an engineer, dog. A prompt engineer is a thing in 2025. A prompt engineer.
Yo, listen, when we were me and Jim were building the AI bot, right? And the thing about building the AI bots is you got to learn how to talk to them. Yeah. And so a prompt engineer is actually a thing because of the way the prompts are set up. You know what I mean? So you need to be able to prompt your whatever AI in a proper way because these are language learning models. And so prompt engineers are people who get can elicit the kind of responses out of the AI that you want to build out whatever it is you're trying to build. Mm-hmm. So prompt engineer will be a prominent job as long as we have these language learning models.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. They're definitely not going anywhere, man. They're not going anywhere. So Nicole says, same here, girls' high. Shout to girls' high. That's our sister school. You know what I'm saying? Jamil says, to your points, I had a mentor who used to say that responsible home ownership as a parent will determine both your child's education and network. Yep. So Jamil, there's an actual book. It's a data science book, but it just talks about certain studies that were done. And it says that based on the data points, the number one thing to see the success of your child is literally your village, the people that you're around. And they say there's a high correlation with whether you own a home or where you own a home as well, but it's not the only. Meaning that if you don't have a home, but you can somehow just be in certain spaces where they have other adults that are high achievers, that will then make your kid a high achiever.
All right. As someone who studies data science in the behavioral space, what out of these four things, parenting, where you were born, and economic status, which one of those three things you think is the biggest determinant in success for children?
What is the three you said? Give me the three.
Parenting, where you were born, or economic status. What's the biggest determinant in success?
Where you were born.
100%. Parenting only makes up 15% of success rate for children.
Well, that's kind of what the data says, though. The data says it about, in reference to, the fact that if you, it's really about the network, right? Your village, and I'm not saying that, to be smart, but that's really what it's about. You know what I'm saying? Like who your kids are spending their time around, right? So
it's 100% about loving adults, people that environmental stressors or non-stressors. 90% of the emotional tools that kids learn, they learn before they turn 5 years old.
Yeah, folks still don't know that the DOE, Department of Education, is basically a civil rights department. No, they don't. If we learn how to do proper AI prompts, we can make major improvements in many areas. I want to touch on a couple of things, Pauls, before we get out of here. The first thing is this: even the flyer to this episode, right, which was the Wayans family, right, and I think they are a study in how to run the play that we're talking about. Keenan Ivory Wayans is a legend, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves because even outside of his family, if you look at everyone who's come through kind of that tree, like we talk about sports, they always say, like, this coaching tree. That tree he has is probably second to none. I don't know who has a better tree.
It's not probably second to none. It is second to none.
Because I'm not even talking about just his family. His family is one thing, which to me is just dope. Like,
look at him with his living.
But you talk about J-Lo, you talk about Jamie Foxx, you talk about like Paul Abdul, you talk about
Fire Marshal Billboard, that dude, the white boy.
Yeah, Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah, you talk about Tommy Davidson. Yeah, there's so many names that have built like in our multi-million-dollar brands themselves that come from that tree. I mean, even Eddie Murphy, for the people don't understand that he wrote for Eddie Murphy. Like it's so many people.
And what's the boy that did Hollywood
Well,
Shuffle?
you talking about him and what's his face? I was about to say Tommy Davidson. No, what's the brother's name? He definitely did Hollywood Shuffle. And he also did
and they all wrote for Raw.
Meteor Man. Huh? He also did Meteor Man too, didn't he?
Yeah. Hollywood Shuffle and Meteor Man. They all wrote for Eddie.
Robert Townsend. It was him. Robert Townsend.
That was his Townsend, Paul Mooney.
Like, that was his man. That was his man. But anyway, but point I'm being is like I just want to make sure we show him his give him his just due and respect, because he ran the play crazily. I don't know anyone that's put more brothers and sisters on like that. That to me is dope. And it's something else I want to share with the folks too to talk about this, because something else that brought this conversation up was this, and I was just laughing at this, right? So we all know LVMH, right? And yeah, Louis Vuitton and what Hennessy, right? But take a look at this real fast, Corey. So after careful consideration, the owner of Louis Vuitton selected his 29-year-old son to be the next CEO of their multi-billion-dollar brand, Loro Piana. I don't even know what that is, but that's one of their brands. It's a multi-billion-dollar brand. So the post that's on Black Millionaires _ that Instagram page says, think about this the next time you want yours to get it out the mud. So he took his 29-year-old son and was like, take this. This is
multi-billion-dollar brand.
I was thinking about that. I was looking at the dude that runs the music business. He's like the CEO of like the biggest music company in the world. What's his name? Universal Music Group. The CEO. What's the boy's name? I'm gonna tell you in a second. Lucien Grange. Lucien Grange. That's the one Drake always mentioned. Lucien Grange. Right, his son. So Universal Music Group is one of the biggest companies in the world, but it's the biggest in the music business. His son. Let me look up his son, because his son, he gave his son a job too. His name is Elliot Grange, right? And Elliot Grange is a CEO of a whole other thing called the 10K Project, which is another multi-billion-dollar company within the same space. So think about this. Think about you have like 3 to 4 big players, and you're the top of that, and you say, I'm gonna put my son on one of the seats too. Like, this is the games that's being played out here, and we still be like, no, you got to do it yourself. Like, why are we doing that?
Think about the Dallas Cowboys, right? The team that's worth the most in pro sports, right? Who's the executive team for them? It's the owner. The owner is the CEO, which is Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones has his book, right? He has a book. It was a book written about him years ago. By the way, there's another great podcast called Founders, if you guys don't listen. And the guy who does Founders, all he does is read business biography books and then gives his perspective on it. That's literally the gist of his whole podcast. But some of his episodes are good. But I was listening to his one about Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones' book, Jerry Jones, first of all, got lucky. You know what I mean? He bought some real estate and he was getting ready to run a play, and it was oil there. And that oil allowed him to buy the Dallas Cowboys. But one of the things Jerry Jones says is, the reason he bought the Cowboys wasn't that it was the best business decision at the time. He was like, yo, I want a business where I can be around my kids and I can employ my kids. That was his objective.
Yeah.
He was like, I literally want a business so I can give my kids jobs and I can spend my whole day working with my kids. That was his whole job. In fact, the only reason he bought the land that ended up having oil is because he was buying property in a city that his daughter was going to college in, because he was trying to be around his kid. He was trying to make sure that he wasn't, deadbeat daddy. Was trying to spend time around his kids. So it's interesting because they be out here literally doing stuff with the intention of like, yo, this is going to be for my kids. It's a family business. You know what I mean? So yeah, but thanks for that, because 2 names we couldn't think of, they got it right there: Robert Townsend and Lucien Grange. But let's go back to some of these other comments. Does Corey suggest tax these sales as an alternative entry to home ownership, with the average home being $350K to $400K plus rates? Is it possible to procure a decent first crib for $50K or less? TN is a redeemable estate. So here's the thing I'll say. I know you're asking Corey this question. It depends upon what kind of property you want to deliver. Corey did these as investment properties. He wasn't laying his head there. You're not going to find $350K to $400K or $200K. Actually, you won't.
You will. It's just going to be, you're going to be competing with other bidders for those. You're going to end up paying near market because you're going to be competing with other people to get those kind of homes.
I'm laughing at Anthony. So to me personally, I it's not that you can't, but it's gonna be few and far between.
Because of competition, because there's a lot of people that know about tech. See, my thing is this. Like I said, there's 4-5 different kinds of sales, right? You got your initial the one that Jim was talking about, your initial sheriff sale. Then you got your judicial sale that's after that, and then you got another sale after that. I only bought off the last chance tax deed sale, and here's why. Those are all of the properties that I don't have to compete. There's no competition for those because they went through all the other sales.
So Jamil, also, in my experience, if you're talking about a house that's above, I would say even $100,000, the right of redemption really kicks in, right? People gonna come back for that property. You got a $400,000 property, people ain't gonna just walk away from that. Generally speaking, right? There's always outliers, but generally,
the other place that I was told to go that I never really got a chance to get involved with, which is probate sales. I never got a chance to get involved with the probate sales, but I heard that people be coming out of there with a lot of good stuff because you got motivated sellers. People that's trying to get off.
That's competitive as hell now too. Anthony says, was the Philadelphia Will Smith mural consist of him slapping the taste out of trust?
No, but it might update it, but the current one does not.
Yeah, we need a 2.0 for that. Careful consideration, huh? But they mad LeBron and his son Bronny. GTFOH. Yeah, careful after careful consideration. Yeah, that's a crazy word use. Hunter Biden, shout to Hunter Biden in his laptop. Yo, he had all kinds of nefarious activities on his laptop. You know what I'm saying? So shout to Hunter Biden. So as Simon says, what's the channel? Which specific channel are you speaking about? I want to make sure I answer this question before we get out of here. What's the channel? What channel are you speaking about? Because I'll make sure I give you the correct information. Yeah, man. So listen, the bottom line is, to bring this all home, there is no problem with nepotism. It's something that we should be practicing. We should be looking out for each other. We should be taking care of each other, specifically those that are within your network. A revolutionary act doesn't mean you have to necessarily come out here and be marching and carrying on and breaking stuff.
No black fist needed, man. Just
help folks, man. Yeah. Network is where the value lies, man. Founders Podcast on YouTube. Just subscribe. Take a look at some of those joints. Some of those joints is dope. Listen, I'll be in the podcast world, man. I told you right now I'm in my the channel that does the autobiographies. So I listen to the audio podcast. It's called Founders. FOUNDERS. It's called Founders. It's a dope pod. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to make my list of podcast recommendations and put it in the village. I'm gonna do that right out my favorite podcast. But right now, Business Movers and Business Wars, I'm stuck on that. I'm going through the joint now. TikTok versus the US. That's one. Founders is another one I listen to often. Business Wars, Business Movers. Obviously, Stack Sats at Die Trying, which you can find on all podcast platforms. You know what I mean? That's your boy, me. I hear it. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, so that's what's going on, man. I had an amazing day today. Like I said, for those who missed it, I had the opportunity to speak at the University of Penn today. They got these bars. You know what I'm saying? I just posted some of that. I posted some of that. Wire quotes was given. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I be having it. Like, you speaking wire bars, I be speaking in the infamous bars. I'm like, it's me, Pete. I'm speaking for my fucking self. Like,
I worked in a couple of Larry June bars a day too. So you know what I mean.
Yo, I think I'm gonna start. I'm just gonna start quoting the infamous, bro. Because you want to talk about quotables. That album got like 700 quotables in that joint.
Nah, it's a ton on that album. It definitely is, man. But anyway, man. So that's going on. By the way, Friday we have a Bitcoin giveaway. Listen, I'm gonna give y'all a warning. Friday show is gonna be a little bit off the rails because we got some wild topics, man. Team Nate, y'all got to be in the building Friday because we got some stuff we're gonna talk about. You know what I mean? It's still gonna be a little righteousness in there, but it's going off the rails. I'm gonna tell you already because the topic is a little wild, but I'm not gonna give it away. Just be there on Friday though. We also gonna do our Bitcoin giveaway Friday. Class coming this Sunday. It's March 19th now. So April 5th, we're doing our event in the community. We're going to get the information out about that on Friday in terms of a location, time, all that. It's going to be out Friday. So make sure to pull up Friday. We're gonna have some fun Friday. We're gonna do some giveaways Friday. That's definitely coming up. You know what I mean? Freedom Fridays, but we're gonna have fun this Friday, y'all. But April 5th, if you're in the Philadelphia area and you have anyone in the youth, we're talking about kids as young as 5 or as old as high school kids, make sure to pull up because we're doing our Saturday school. It's something that we're starting. We got our first sponsor for that. Shout out to TechCore. TechCore is going to be a sponsor, which is a tech company in the community. It's a nonprofit. They're going to actually help sponsor this because they want to see us succeed with the work with the youth in the community. So Saturday, April 5th will be the first, and we'll do one every month. And it's going to be fire, man. It's going to be something that we're trying to implement. We're going to feed the kids, man. We try to bring the Panther programs back, man. Feed them, teach them. You know what I mean?
Listen, yo, you just took the words right out of my mouth, man. Like, there's the reason why the FBI really started to investigate the Panthers had nothing to do with like the guns and all that stuff. Like Ronald Reagan, I can give you a history on the Panthers because I actually studied what they did in their original form before they got all out of whack and start doing all kinds of crazy stuff to black women and like got skewed from the vision and the mission. The thing that got them infiltrated by the FBI was actually the food programs. And you know why? Because the most revolutionary thing you could do to the government is ignore them to make yourself immune to them. And so when you start to feed yourself, they was like, no. And the thing that they did on the first day of that program, before they infiltrated everything else and created their own program, food program, is the night before the program happened, they raided the spot where the food was at, and the police officers didn't take the food. They pissed all over it. Look at the history of what happened to it, man. It was absolute chaos. To stop them from doing the program, they didn't raid the spot to take the stuff. They didn't even take the food. They went in there, hundreds of policemen, and pissed on the food.
So we say all that to say we're gonna be feeding the kids. Leave us alone.
Leave us alone, man.
Leave us alone. Just leave us alone.
I'm just saying.
I got you, bro. I
understand what happened to because again, you want to talk about community. They started off as a community-based program in Oakland and spread across the country because of the work they were doing before. But I looked at the original programming. You see what I'm saying?
I understand the 10-point program. All I'm saying is we want to start feeding the kids. Just leave us alone. That's all I'm saying, man. So, be here Friday, y'all. All right, so he said, in the words of Shannon Sharp, Warren Buffett, Kermit and the Muppets, HBCU trumpets, nepotism in 5. Nepotism 5. Yo, listen, man, y'all be here Friday, man. We love y'all. If you're not a member of the village, please go to blackwealthrebels.com. Sign up, join us in there. Please, and please share it with your folks, man. And when we put out the flyers and everything for our community work, we want you to share that more than even our content, man. And by the way, we got a fire video dropping tomorrow in the village. We are talking about Kwame Ture. Is already uploaded. You'll see it. It's already set up as a drop. That drops tomorrow morning in the village. So make sure to like that when you see it in the village. You know what I mean? So we appreciate all the support. We love y'all. We'll see y'all Friday. And Friday, we are definitely going off the rails, y'all. But go to blackwealthrebels.com. You know what I'm saying? Peace and black power, black queens forever, and all the good stuff we usually say. Please stay safe out there, y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's important in 2025. You know what I mean? Keep your head on the swivel. Stay safe, and we'll see y'all Friday. Love y'all. Peace.